What is the largest vehicle ever made by humans in world history? What is the largest ship ever created in world history? What is the biggest shipwreck in world history? What is the largest rescue operation in human history? What is the largest ship that sank during a war? What is the longest and heaviest ship ever made in world history? If you were to answer all of these questions with the name of one ship, would you believe it? Today, we are ready to talk about the Seawise Giant, which is considered the largest and most colossal ship to have ever sailed in history. As humans, we have created massive structures such as pyramids, huge buildings, large towers, bridges, and advanced aircraft, with thousands of these creations built throughout history. However, when it comes to ships, the Seawise Giant stands out as a creation that is like a unique historical artifact in itself. In the late 20th century, the transportation of crude oil became a huge challenge. With the global rise in vehicle production and industrial growth, the demand for oil reached unprecedented levels in history. To maintain the operations of the large military forces created by nations, access to oil resources became absolutely essential. To meet this demand, a massive amount of oil had to be transported from the Middle East to all parts of the world, and the most efficient and widely used method of transportation was by sea. As a result, those who owned the largest, fastest, and most powerful ships became key players in the oil transportation industry. At this time, a Greek company decided to design a ship unlike anything ever built before. For this task, they chose the Japanese company Sumitomo Heavy Industries. According to their design, the length of this ship would exceed 1,150 feet, which is greater than the height of the Empire State Building, which was once considered the tallest building in the world. The ship was designed to carry an incredible amount of weight, far beyond what any other ship could carry, with the capacity to transport tons of cargo, including more than 50 Eiffel Tower-like structures. The creators of the Seawise Giant prioritized maximum weight capacity over speed. However, after the ship was constructed and went through testing, they realized a critical issue. The ship experienced severe vibrations when moving, which posed a dangerous problem. Despite spending millions of dollars on the construction, the company that ordered the ship was unwilling to accept the ship with this flaw. The issue eventually went to court, and during this period, another company, Orient Overseas Container Line, expressed interest in purchasing the ship. However, after purchasing the ship, what they stated was that the vessel turned out to be smaller than they had expected. Due to this reason, they decided to add another section in the middle of the ship, which made this extraordinary vessel even longer. Now, the largest man-made ship, which had become a dream in world history, was ready to set sail. The length of the Seawise Giant was now double that of the Titanic. The number of oil storage tanks on the ship was 46, and with the addition of the new section, the ship's weight was now more than double what it was before. The area of the deck increased to over 11,000 square meters, which is equivalent to about 8 acres. The weight of the outer perimeter of the ship was around 50 tons, and the length of those sections was about 30 feet. The radar, which helped in turning the ship, weighed around 230 tons, more than the weight of the world's largest marine aircraft. The largest cargo vessel in history, the USS Nimitz, which was powered by nuclear energy, was still 500 feet shorter than the Seawise Giant. To get the Nimitz into the water, the minimum required depth was about 40 feet, whereas the Seawise Giant required a depth of more than 80 feet to float. As a result, the Seawise Giant could only access a limited number of harbors in the world, as most other harbors did not have sufficient depth to accommodate the ship. The Seawise Giant was powered by 2 Boyd engines, providing a total of 50,000 horsepower. If you know a bit about horsepower, you'd understand just how powerful this is. However, even with such immense power, the ship could only travel at a speed of 16 knots. While there were other oil transportation ships that could travel faster, none had the capacity to carry as much oil as the Seawise Giant. Due to its enormous size, stopping the ship also required a significant amount of space. To bring the ship to a halt, it needed at least 6 football field lengths of runway, and to turn the ship, a minimum of 2 football field lengths of open water and a depth of at least 80 feet were required. Until the start of the Iran-Iraq War in 1980, she had been freely engaged in her transportation activities. One of the longest and most brutal wars of the 20th century, the Iran-Iraq War resulted in over 1 million casualties. As a consequence of this war, Iraq made efforts to gain control over the Shatt al-Arab waterway and the oil-rich province of Khuzestan, located in southern Iran. However, the Seawise Giant, which was an oil transport vessel, had no connection to this war. It was neither owned by Iran nor Iraq, nor did it operate on their behalf. However, the ship was in the wrong place at the wrong time. While the Seawise Giant was anchored off the Iranian coast, its primary role was to provide oil supplies to smaller vessels in the area. At that time, the Spanish vessel, the Basilica, was connected to the Seawise Giant and was receiving oil from it. On May 14, 1988, she became a target. Although nothing was confirmed in the history records, Iraqi warplanes attacked international shipping vessels that had stopped near Iranian ports, including the Seawise Giant. It is unclear whether this attack was ordered by Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein or if it was a mere coincidence. There is no evidence to confirm this to date. Due to its size, the Seawise Giant became a more attractive target compared to the other 4 vessels present in the area. The initial attack was on the Barcelona vessel, which was filled with oil. Both of these ships caught fire and were destroyed in a short period of time. Several other ships were able to secure themselves without damage. The Barcelona vessel sank after burning for 2 days. Shortly after, it was confirmed that the Seawise Giant also permanently sank. A few months later, the Iran-Iraq War ended through negotiations. The owners of Seawise Giant transferred ownership to Debris Norman International Company. Although the company never publicly disclosed the details of the transfer, they were able to successfully redesign and rebuild the vessel after some time. Many people speculated that due to the ship's massive size and weight, it would be impossible to use tugboats. Instead, they reported that they used the airbag method, which is currently employed in modern ship repairs, to lift the ship's sections out of the water. The debris sections were brought to Singapore for reassembly. After a long period of labor and significant costs, the ship was restored to a condition where it could sail again. Subsequently, they changed the ship's name from Seawise Giant to Happy Giant. The refurbished supertanker was purchased by a businessman and naval trade industry figure named Jorgen Yara, who paid $75 million for the vessel. After the purchase, he renamed the ship Yara Viking. By 2004, the Yara Viking tanker, which had transported millions of tons of oil, changed its name once again to Knock Nevis after being purchased by the Olsen Tanker Company. Despite the change in ownership, the vessel continued to hold the title of the world's largest supertanker, maintaining its place as a record holder. What was assigned to Knock Nevis was a slightly different role. Instead of transporting oil back and forth, the company used Knock Nevis as a temporary oil distribution center, anchoring it near the shore to facilitate the distribution of oil. With its immense size, Knock Nevis was perfectly suited for this role. For 5 years it was stationed at the Al Shaheen oil fields in Qatar, functioning as the world's largest FSO, serving as a floating oil storage and transfer hub. The colossal ship, which served for decades under names like Seawise Giant, Happy Giant, Yara Viking, and ultimately Knock Nevis, retired from service in 2009. In 2010, Knock Nevis was moved to a decommissioning center located in Alang, Gujarat, India, where it became the largest ship ever to be dismantled. The steel and other materials were recycled, and 15 years later, Seawise Giant was officially recognized as the largest ship ever built. The story of this ship is considered one of the finest examples of human engineering, serving as a living testament to what mankind was capable of achieving. It stood as a symbol of ambition and human innovation, facing challenges, destruction, and redemption throughout its lifespan. Its journey through the decades is a reminder of resilience, power, and the ability to adapt, along with eventual retirement, marking the end of an era in maritime history. Although she no longer sails, her memory has become an unforgettable landmark in maritime history.